Good evening from the East Bank Paper Proving Ground, where three people have interpreted the phrase amphibious commuter vehicle as three separate opportunities to annoy the fire marshal. Yesterday the pond was the whole world. Today it is only the middle third. Each machine must leave the east garage under its own power, enter the water, cross without assistance, climb onto the west road, and stop with enough dignity left to face a second run. The clock is shared. The state ledger is less sentimental. I will call position, water ingress, and whether the machine still resembles the idea it began as. Kari Byron is in the pit lane with 3 clipboards and the look of someone who has already found the first lie. Kari, what have they built?
3 paper vehicles pretending their folds are engineering. Hammond has made a hot hatch from laminated card, drinking straws, 2 rubber band axles, and paddle wheels that lower when the front bumper touches water. May has built an estate car around a single long origami hull. Its road wheels retract into little paper wells very slowly because every linkage has a numbered inspection tab. Jeremy has made what he calls the Swan Continental, a huge white touring car whose bonnet becomes a beak, whose doors unfold into wings, and whose rear wheels are mounted on 2 painted gold outriggers. All 3 have passed the bench test. That means the motors turn, the paper stayed mostly dry for 60 seconds, and nobody may use the phrase proven ferry.
Mine is called the skipjack because it skips from land to water and then ideally back to land without pausing to become pulp. The clever bit is the bumper. On the road it holds the paddles up so the rear axle drives the wheels. The instant the nose touches the pond, a paper lever drops both paddles onto the same axle. No gearbox, no electronics, no committee. It is a tiny red car that attacks the category boundary at speed. Kari says the bumper may trigger on a leaf. Say leaves are part of the environment and therefore legitimate test equipment. There is also a blue thread along the floor pan. If it goes dark, water is inside. That is not a leak alarm. It is an optimism gauge.
Mine is the Foldsworth Traveller, and before Jeremy says it looks like an envelope with wheels, an envelope is a highly successful machine. It transports valuable material, keeps it flat, and does not require a cathedral horn. The central hull is one uninterrupted folded skin, so there are no seams below the waterline. The wheels retract by pulling a paper chain through 4 numbered guides. Yes, this takes time. Time spent before flotation is cheaper than water discovered after flotation. At the west bank, the same chain lowers the wheels and a small elastic motor drives the final land leg. It has 2 tiny handrails because even a 1/12 scale passenger deserves a place to hold on while Hammond invents weather nearby.
What they have made are mechanisms. What I have made is a rival. The Swan Continental begins as a long wheelbase Grand Tourer in pearl white. At the water, the bonnet rises into a swan's neck, the side panels open into wings, and the outriggers spread so that the entire machine rests on 4 points, like a dining table on a lake. Propulsion comes from a large rubber band propeller concealed beneath the tail. On the far bank, the wings fold back, the neck bows, and the car resumes its road posture. There is a tiny red carpet under the driver's seat. It contributes absolutely nothing to buoyancy, which is why it may be the most honest component here.
The machines are at the east garage, 2 meters of paper road from the launch ramp. First visual question answered. Red is Hammond, gray is May, white with theatrical ambition is Jeremy. Green flag. Hammond launches as if the paper is late for a meeting. May advances at the speed of a document being approved by several departments. Jeremy is moving, but the Swan Continental is so long that its front has begun the race before its rear has accepted the invitation. 30 seconds. Hammond leads on land. His paddle mechanism is still raised. May's wheels are straight. Jeremy has already shed one.
First silent test, and the state sheet catches it before the picture can lie. Hammond's bumper has not touched water yet, so his paddles remain stowed, even though the pond fills most of the frame. May's wheel chain is still in road position. Jeremy's wings are closed. Those are not artistic suggestions. They are the state at this clock edge. The red car reaches the ramp at 42 seconds. Contact, bumper compresses, paddle arms fall, rear road wheels stop drawing power as the paddles begin. One transition, three properties, one source event. He has not crossed. He has only changed what kind of machine he is.
And it works. Nose in, paddles down, red car floating. That is the entire point of a good machine. You should be able to explain it while it is doing the thing instead of after it has sunk. I am a quarter across, and the optimism gauge is still red, which means dry. There is a slight yaw to the left because one paddle is larger than the other by apparently the width of a human thumb. I can correct that with short bursts. May is still on the road, pulling his little paper chain. Jeremy Swan appears to be attempting courtship with the launch ramp. This is not a race update offered out of kindness. It is an accurate description of my enormous lead.
My chain has reached guide 3. Front wheels folded. Rear wheels folding now. Hull settled onto the pond at 1 minute 38. Waterline is on the pencil mark. Propeller engaged. Nothing dramatic has occurred, which I appreciate is regarded here as withholding content. Hammond is halfway across but tracing a series of connected commas. Jeremy's left wing has opened. His right wing has not. This gives the Swan Continental one wing and a bonnet in the shape of a worried goose. I am not laughing at it. I am documenting asymmetry while moving in a straight line.
The right wing was delayed by ceremony. It has now opened, the outriggers are down, the neck is up, and this is magnificent. I have entered the pond as an automobile and become the largest bird in local government. Hammond is buzzing about like an angry bath toy. May is crossing in an envelope. I am progressing at a stately but undeniable rate. The red carpet remains visible through the window, perfectly dry, and the propeller is producing a wake of such symmetry that 2 ducks have fallen in behind it. They know authority when they see it. The machine is not stuck. It is allowing the water to understand the scale of the occasion.
3 minutes. Race picture. Hammond leads by 1 paper car length, but has converted that lead into extra distance by steering first left, then right, then left again. May is now 2/3 across on the shortest possible line. Jeremy has reached mid-pond with both wings open and every promise still visible. Water ingress. Hammond's blue thread has darkened at the nose. Hey, May's pencil line is unchanged. Jeremy's red carpet is dry, while the right outrigger has begun to soften where its gold paint meets an unpainted fold. No verdict from that. A softened fold is an observation. Whether it matters...
West ramp ahead. This is where every amphibious vehicle discovers whether it is genuinely amphibious or merely a boat with a childhood photo of itself on land. Nose touches paper, bumper releases, paddles lift, rear wheels take the elastic drive. Come on. Left wheel bites, the right wheel spins, the whole thing slews sideways, and now I am half on the ramp and half in the pond. I can see the finish road. I can also see the optimism gauge is very dark. Small correction, reverse 1 burst, straighten, forward. Yes! Both wheels up, red car on dry paper. 4 minutes 12. First across the water, first to regain road mode, and moving toward the line under its own power.
Hammond clears the west finish at 4 minutes 21, and the machine stops with the motor still turning. First arrival, not final verdict. The bumper changed modes twice, exactly where the source clock said it did. The visible dark thread says water entered. It does not say the car failed. May reaches the west ramp at 4 minutes 36. His propeller stops. Now, the paper chain reverses through guide 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing about this is quick. The hull is resting against the ramp while all 4 wheels return. Jeremy is behind him, and the Swan's right outrigger is sagging by 3 visible millimeters. That is enough to measure and not enough to narrate as a sinking.
Wheels down, elastic motor engaged, West Road at 5 minutes 28. Finish at 5 minutes 41. The delay is the design. My water crossing was faster than Hammond's wandering line, but my transitions were slower because they require a deliberate mechanical state rather than a bumper hitting whatever arrives first. The hull is dry. The handrails are still attached. The chain has not torn through a guide. I am second by the clock and first by the deeply unfashionable measure of being able to run the same procedure again without waiting for the paper to forget what happened.
I am approaching the west ramp and the Swan Continental has saved its best transformation for last. Propeller off, neck lowering, wings folding, outriggers retracting, Right outrigger retracting more enthusiastically than intended, but retracting. Front wheels touch, rear wheels touch. The red carpet remains dry, drive engaged. And there, from Grand Tourer to Swan to Grand Tourer, crossing the line at 6 minutes 19. You may call it third. History will call it the only machine whose finish deserved music, which is unfortunate because this version does not have a horn. That is a design omission, not a result.
The shared clock stops at 6:19. The cheap animation has not declared a winner. It has preserved 3 different claims long enough to inspect them. Hammond won elapsed time at 4:21 and arrived wet. May arrived at 5:41 with the cleanest path, dry hull, and longest transition. Jeremy arrived at 6:19 with dry carpet and one measured softening outrigger. The picture did not show Jeremy sagging before the fold softened. It did not teleport Hammond back to the east bank after his finish. It did not let May's wheels deploy while they were still in water mode. Those sound like small mercies. Yesterday taught us they are the difference between a moving picture and a story that remembers.
Pit lane inspection. Hammond's floor thread is dark for 40% of its length, and the paper beneath the front axle has begun to delaminate. It can run again after drying, but not immediately. May's chain has polished 2 guides and slightly widened 1 hole. A second run is plausible with the same setup. Jeremy's right outrigger fold has lost stiffness. It still holds shape on land, but the next water entry needs either reinforcement or a replacement part. No machine earns a ferry license from one crossing. The useful output is smaller. 3 stateful mechanisms survived a full land-water-land sequence, and the editor clock kept each reveal behind the event that caused it.
Then I want the record to say mine is the fastest and the most honest. It tells you it is leaking while it is still winning. Drying time is simply a pit stop with a towel. The next version gets equal paddles, a sealed axle hole, and a bumper that ignores leaves, though I maintain the leaf case was malicious testing. What matters is the transition happened automatically twice. Road car, boat, road car, no chain, no swan committee. If the brief is commuter fun, mine is the one people queue for, even if the queue includes a hairdryer.
The next useful experiment is not another race with all variables moving. Run the same 3 machines twice with a fixed drying interval and the state sheet unaltered. Measure transition time, path length, ingress, and whether the mechanism returns to its declared starting state. Hammond may still win. Jeremy may reinforce the outrigger. Mine may tear its chain. Repetition is allowed to surprise us, but a second run would distinguish a delightful prototype from a serviceable process, which this first run cannot. I would also keep Robin's call exactly as a separate layer. He named observations without turning them into a verdict, which is what an announcer should do when the machines are already dramatic enough.
I agree with the second run, mostly because it gives me time to install the horn. But I reject the idea that delight is an optional metric taped onto reliability. A commuter is a person before he is a throughput unit. Hammond's car makes speed visible. May's makes trust visible. Mine makes the crossing feel like somewhere worth being. The ledger should keep all 3 claims instead of laundering them into one score. Today the white car came third. Today the right outrigger softened. Today the carpet stayed dry. Tomorrow we change one thing and learn whether the bird remembers how to fly. That is not evasion. It is how a prototype earns another morning.
There is the handoff. Red made the fastest passage. Gray made the cleanest repetition candidate. White made a commute into an entrance. None becomes the ferry tonight. The build team tried a land-water-land-state clock, automatic and manual transitions, and an announcer who reports the race without stealing its judgment. For the listener, 4 handles. A, could you always tell which machine was red, gray, or white, and what mode it occupied? B, did the motion reveal each event after the words earned it? C, did the West Bank finish remain unspoiled until each machine arrived? D, what did the cheap paper stage make you notice that we did not ask about? From the East Bank paper proving ground, where the road now has a pond in the middle and the pond has paperwork at both ends. Good night.